Hello and welcome back to Learn the Bible in a Year for January 19th, 2026. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to you. I hope you enjoy having your kids home from school. Today we are going to be reading through Genesis chapter 38 and Genesis chapter 39. We're also going to be reading in Matthew chapter 13, verses 36 through 58. And we are also reading through Psalms chapter 11. And without any dilly-dally today, we're going to jump right into the recap. And we are starting in Genesis chapter 38 now. Now, before we jump into the recap, this chapter contains a little bit of sensitive information. So if your children are listening with you because they're home from school today, this might be the episode to have them go and play instead. So jumping into the recap, right in the middle of Joseph's story, we get this chapter about Judah. He leaves his brothers and stays with a man named Hira. There he meets a Canaanite woman and marries her. She has 3 sons, named Onan, and Shelah. Yes, Shelah in this case is the name of a son. Judah arranges for to be married to a woman named Tamar. But is wicked, and the Lord puts him to death. Now, in Near Eastern culture, there was a practice called Levirate marriage. And this is if a man dies without children, his brother is obligated to marry the widow, assuming he is unmarried, and produce an heir who can carry on the dead brother's name and inheritance. So, following this custom, Judah tells Onan, who's the second child, to fulfill this duty to Tamar. This is the kind of graphic part, so just get your ears prepared. Onan knows that any son won't be his heir. It'll be his older brother's. So whenever he sleeps with Tamar, he spills his seed on the ground to keep her from getting pregnant. This, of course, is wicked, and the Lord puts him to death too. Now, for the record here, the act of spilling your seed on the ground is not the act that is wicked here. Some people take this portion of scripture literally. But what's actually wicked here is the fact that Onan did not fulfill his obligation to his brother. His heart was wicked, and his actions came out of a wicked heart. So Judah tells Tamar to live as a widow in her father's house until Shelah grows up, apparently still a lad at this time. But he's afraid Shelah will die too, so he has no real intention of actually giving him to Tamar. So years pass, Judah's wife dies. After mourning, he goes to Timnah for sheep shearing, a festive occasion with lots of celebration. Tamar hears about this. She realizes Shelah's grown up and she hasn't been given to him. So Tamar takes off her widow's clothes and covers herself with a veil, and she sits at the entrance to Enaim on the road to Timnah. When Judah sees her, he thinks that she is a prostitute because her face is covered. In that culture, shrine prostitutes often veiled themselves and sat by roadsides during festivals. And wouldn't you know it, Judah propositions her. She asks what he will give her. He says a young goat from his flock. This is payment for the prostitution acts. She wants a pledge until he sends it. What's a pledge? That's your seal, or it's a cord, or it's your staff. This is like personal identification items. It's like having someone's driver's license or credit card today. So she sleeps with him and she gets pregnant. Now, Judah sends the goat with his friend to get his pledge back, but they can't find the woman. He asks the locals about the shrine prostitute, but they say that they've never seen one there. So Judah just lets it go. Better not make a fool of himself any more than he already has. Then 3 months later, Judah's told Tamar is pregnant through prostitution. He says, bring her out and have her burned to death. What a real hypocrite, right? This is the standard punishment for prostitution. As she's brought out, she sends a message to Judah with his seal, cord, and staff. I'm pregnant by the man who owns these. Do you recognize them? Judah realizes what he has done and says that she is more righteous than he is because he did not deliver her to Shelah. So Tamar has twins. They're called Perez and Zerah. And Perez becomes the ancestor of King David and eventually Jesus. We'll talk more about ancestries in a different chapter, but that's the story in Genesis 38. Moving into Genesis 39, we're back to Joseph, and he is in Egypt, and Potiphar, the official of Pharaoh, has bought him. The Lord is with Joseph, and he prospers. Potiphar notices everything Joseph does is a success, so he puts Joseph in charge of his entire household. From that time on, the Lord blesses Potiphar's household because of Joseph. Potiphar doesn't concern himself with anything except for the food that he eats. Joseph is well built and handsome. So Potiphar's wife notices and propositions him repeatedly. Come to bed with me, is what she's saying. Joseph refuses. Your husband has trusted me with everything. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? But she keeps asking day after day, and he refuses and avoids being around her. That's one good strategy. Then one day, Joseph goes into the house to do his work, and no one else is there. She grabs his cloak and demands that he sleep with her. Joseph runs outside right away, but he leaves his cloak behind that Potiphar's wife had. When she sees that he left his cloak, she calls her household servants. She says, "Look, this Hebrew has been brought to insult us. He came in to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he left his cloak and ran." When Potiphar comes home, she tells the same story. Potiphar is burning with anger and throws Joseph in prison, the place where the king's prisoners are confined. But even there, the Lord is with Joseph. He shows him kindness and grants him favor with the prison warden. The warden puts Joseph in charge of all the prisoners and everything done there. Are you seeing a pattern? I might be seeing a pattern. All right, moving into Matthew, and we read Matthew chapter 13, verses 36 through 58. The disciples asked Jesus to explain the parable of the weeds. The one who sowed good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the people of the kingdom. The weeds are the people of the evil one. The enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age. The harvesters are the angels. At the end, the weeds will be pulled up and burned. The Son of Man will send his angels to weed out everything that causes sin and all evildoers. They'll be thrown into a blazing furnace. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. Jesus gives more parables. The kingdom is like treasure hidden in a field. Someone finds it, hides it again, and in his joy sells everything to buy the field. It's like a merchant searching for fine pearls who finds one of great value and sells everything to buy it. It's like a net that catches all kinds of fish. When it's full, fishermen pull it up and collect the good fish but throw away the bad. Jesus asks if they understand, and they say yes. This is a nice change of pace. Usually the disciples don't understand. Then Jesus goes to his hometown of Nazareth and he teaches in the synagogue. People are amazed, but also offended. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother Mary? Aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Where did he get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? Jesus says a prophet is honored everywhere except in his hometown and his own house. He doesn't do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. Familiarity breeds contempt. They can't see past who they think he is. All right, finally, we read Psalms chapter 11. David takes refuge in the Lord. Well, this should sound familiar. This is kind of how all the Psalms go. Some people tell him to flee like a bird to the mountains because the wicked are bending their bows to shoot at the upright. When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous even do? And how does David respond? He says, "The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is on his heavenly throne. He observes everyone. His eyes examine them. He tests the righteous, but the wicked, those who love violence, he hates. He'll rain down judgment on them. The Lord is righteous. He loves justice. The upright will see his face." It's a Psalms of confidence, I guess you could say. Even when everything seems to be falling apart and people suggest running away, David trusts that God is still on his throne, still examining everything, and still just. What a great reminder there. Before jumping into our questions for today, just a quick word from our sponsor. Our sponsor is Covenant Security Equipment. This is a Christian owned company that partners with building contractors who build with safety in mind. They sell bullet resistant windows, secure transaction systems, drive through installations, and much more. You can find all of this at covenantsecurityequipment.com. Go right there. There's also a link to the website in the show notes of this episode. One more thing that I'll say before we jump into today's questions, the Great Commission, this is what Jesus commanded us all to do, is to share the gospel throughout the entire world. Well, that can be kind of a daunting task, but here is my recommendation to you. This channel, these episodes, what they do is they share the gospel. And if you like or subscribe or follow, however you're listening to this episode, if you do those things, then the air quotes algorithm will share these episodes with more people. Hence, you will be spreading the gospel to the ends of the earth. So be a part of this mission, be a part of the Great Commission with me. Like, subscribe, and share this episode so that we can share the word of Jesus to the ends of the earth. Okay, for today's questions, we have question number 1 out of what we read in Genesis. Joseph refused Potiphar's wife even when no one was watching. So here's a question. Where is your integrity strongest when no one is looking, and where does it falter? Question number 2 out of what we read in Matthew. Jesus said a prophet is not honored in his hometown. Here's a question. How does familiarity with Jesus breed contempt or casual acceptance rather than reverent faith? Question number 3 from what we read in Psalms. David refuses to flee like a bird to the mountains, trusting instead that the Lord in his holy temple. So here's a question. When foundations crumble in your life, how do you anchor yourself in God's unchanging character? Good question there. And the last question for today, which is the same question every day. What is our main takeaway from today's reading? My main takeaway is from the first chapter that we read in Genesis for today about Judah. That whole situation with Judah and his kids and Tamar, such a messy and terrible situation. But as we find out later, this is the lineage that David comes from, which is the lineage that Jesus comes from. This is once again cementing the idea that God is not looking for perfect people to enact his perfect plan. Rather, it seems like quite the opposite. He finds seemingly the worst people, and even though we do not match the standard, he still works through us. This is part of his magnificent plan. All right, well, that is the episode for today, and I will see you all again here tomorrow.